Speaking of Ohio State being better for it, what does the 2024 season look like for Ohio State? With this news, Ohio State is 53-8 the past 5 seasons. They got 2 Big 10 titles and 3 college football playoff appearances. We're now expanding to a 12-team playoff where Ohio State is going to have just as good a chance as anybody of making the playoffs every single year. Now, the Big 10 gets a little bit harder, but this is a team that retained a lot of their talent on a really, really good defense last year already. And then you're going to add a guy like Caleb Downs to this defense. I think that is obviously it's a net gain on any team, but with it already being a stout defense, I think we're going to see a ground and pound attack a little bit from Ohio State. You got Will Howard coming in and Bill O'Brien coming in to coach that offense. He's going to be calling the plays. And we'll kind of start with Will Howard here. 61.3% completion last year, 2,643 yards, 24 TDs, and 10 interceptions. Will Howard doesn't seem to me to be a prototypical Ohio State quarterback. This seems like a kind of a weird match here. And this Will Howard thing just seems peculiar to me because I don't know, 61.3% completion is the best season he's ever had. He's played in 4 seasons at Kansas State, and I I just think that they're going to have to rely on these running backs. They bring in Judkins from Ole Miss. That is obviously going to be the best player on this offense. Davion Henderson has decided to come back.
Who's a great number 2, by the way. I don't think he's a number 1 running back, but I think he's an excellent option as a number 2 running back.
They're going to have a hell of a 1-2 punch. They don't lose a lot on the offensive line. I think they're going to retain pretty much all of that talent and be able to grow with that offensive line. I'm just interested to see how they adapt. They lose Marvin Harrison at wide receiver. Is Jeremiah Smith going to be able to get up to speed? You're going to need a playmaker in this passing offense to help Will Howard out. I don't know, man. Bill O'Brien, pull up the numbers on him, dude. 39.9 points per game in 21, 41.4 points per game in 22. Those were both top 6 in the country, both of those years. I didn't realize how good that was, but you got to remember something. He had Bryce Young. One of those years, Bryce Young won the Heisman.
But with no wide receivers.
In 21, they had some.
In 21, they had some, but in 22,
they didn't.
No.
It wasn't near as good of a season for.
Right.
But I mean, still 39.9 points per game. I mean,
my thing here with Bill O'Brien, and I know he's getting a lot of flack from college football fans, from Alabama fans who are saying, well, he's your problem now. I know he had struggles in New England with Mac freaking Jones, who's not an NFL quarterback. You mentioned what he did in 21 and 22. I think that was pretty incredible. And he had pretty good receivers in 21 with Mechie and Jameson Williams, but not the stock of receivers that he's going to walk into at Ohio State. Nobody stacks receiver talent like Ohio State does. And they're going to have it again this year. I know you're missing Marvin Harrison. Look, Jeremiah Smith is the next Marvin Harrison. I promise you. Is he going to show it right away? Year 1, probably not, but he will get some attention and some playing time. Not to mention Brandon Ennis, who's still there, and multiple others. They've got 5 stars on 5 stars at wide receiver. Now, that's Bill O'Brien, who's going to have the best receiving talent that he's ever had. Couple that with Will Howard, who's the best receiver he's ever had to throw to at Kansas State. I can't name one. I literally cannot name one. Deuce Vaughn was probably his best receiving option coming out of the backfield at Kansas State. So I think that has a lot to do with a 61.3%, career completion percentage on top of having to play kind of early at Kansas State. I think that doesn't always benefit a quarterback's numbers. I think that he's an upgrade at the quarterback position from Kyle Honda McCord. And I think that Bill O'Brien is an upgrade at the play calling position from Ryan Day. Right. I know that Brian Hartline was the co-offensive coordinator. Well, guess what? He wasn't calling plays last year. No. He's still the co-offensive coordinator. And we know that Bill O'Brien's stepping in to call plays. So I think this is Ryan Day, kind of taking his hands off the reins and saying, I'm going to let somebody else handle the offense. And and I think it's going to be a good thing. I really do. I think is it the best? Is Bill O'Brien the best play caller in college football? Probably not. But I do think that overall, this is an upgrade at the quarterback position and an upgrade at the play calling position for Ohio State.
I think obviously Ohio State has recruited wide receivers very well. I feel like there's maybe going to be a few games to kind of get into things and get their feet wet to get these wide receivers going. Gonna have to rely on the running game. Didn't do a great job producing a lot in the run game at Alabama those 2 years. Only averaged about 150 yards a game, which isn't just horrible, but I think you're going to need more out of your rushing attack if you're Ohio State this year, just at least in those first few games to get Will Howard going in this offense. And it'll be interesting to see, no doubt about it.